Why is it that some women walk into a room, and without even saying a word, every man notices? It's not because she's the most beautiful. It's not because she's the most successful. It's something deeper, something ancient, a forgotten power that speaks without sound, one that reaches into the subconscious of everyone around her. You didn't come here by accident. You're not here to shrink yourself or keep playing small. This moment, it's your awakening. The quiet part of you, the one you've silenced for years, is ready to rise. Today, we uncover a secret Carl Jung hinted at long ago, a force he saw as essential to our wholeness. It's the feminine energy that makes a man obsessed without knowing why. Not through manipulation, not through performance, but through truth, your truth. If something inside you is stirring, stay with me. This story might just change how you see yourself forever. You've been taught your worth is in how hard you try, how likable, how pretty, how agreeable you can be. From the time you were a little girl, you learned to read a room before you ever read a book. You studied faces, tone, approval. You mastered the art of being easy to be around. Somewhere along the way, you were sold a lie. That if you could just be good enough, just sweet enough, quiet enough, helpful enough, someone would choose you. But here's the truth, no one told you. You've spent your whole life molding yourself to be chosen, but that's exactly why you're not being seen. You've become a version of yourself that's palatable, predictable, safe. And in doing so, you've hidden the most powerful parts of who you are. The parts that make you unforgettable. The parts that make men lean in without knowing why. Carl Jung had a word for this invisible prison. He called it the shadow. It's the side of you you've disowned, not because it was wrong, but because someone once made you believe it was too much, too bold, too intense, too wild. And so, like many women, you pushed her down. You've silenced the laughter that was a little too loud. You've dimmed the fire in your eyes because it made others uncomfortable. You've swallowed your anger, your intuition, your sensuality, all in the name of being nice. You became the rose that trimmed her own thorns, thinking it would make you more lovable. But without her thorns, she stopped feeling like herself. And slowly, the scent, the essence of who she was, began to fade. Do you remember the first time you felt the need to tone yourself down? To hide your feelings? To smile when you wanted to scream? Maybe it was in middle school when someone called you too emotional. Or maybe it was that relationship where you were told, over and over, to just relax. And so you did. You relaxed your voice, your standards, your soul. But here's something no one told you when you started playing small. The feminine that captivates, that truly enchants, is not the watered-down version. It's the woman who embraces the storm inside her, the chaos, the passion, the truth, the part of you you've buried, that part that scares people a little. That is not your flaw. That is your superpower. Because it's not the pleasing woman men obsess over. It's the real woman. The woman who knows who she is. The one who walks into a room and doesn't ask permission to be felt. And you don't need to learn how to be her. You already are her. You've just forgotten. So now, I want you to sit with this, not as a theory, but as an invitation. What would happen if you stopped trying to be the right kind of woman? What would happen if you let the part of you that's been whispering for years finally speak? I know this might feel uncomfortable. That's what happens when truth touches a wound. But there's a reason you're still here, listening. That quiet ache in your chest, that's not weakness. That's remembrance. And the moment you choose to stop betraying who you are just to be loved, that's the moment everything begins to change. Because the woman who no longer hides her shadow, she becomes magnetic without lifting a finger. But how do you actually awaken her? How do you bring her back without fear? Stay with me. That answer is what comes next. She doesn't chase. She radiates. Like the moon pulling the tide, she draws others in not by effort but by essence. There is no asking, no striving, no proving. There is only being. You've seen her before. Maybe not in person, but you've felt her presence in a room. She's not the loudest. She doesn't seek the spotlight. But when she enters, something shifts. Energy stirs. Her name could be anything, Maria, Jasmine, Alyssa. It doesn't matter. What matters is what she remembered. There was a time she tried to play the game, smiled when she didn't want to, laughed when something wasn't funny, said yes when her whole body wanted to scream no. She wore the right clothes, said the right things, dated the right people, and still felt invisible. But one evening, alone on her bedroom floor, she heard a truth rise from somewhere deep. This isn't me. It didn't arrive with fireworks. It came as a whisper, a knowing, a remembering. She stopped asking, "What do they want me to be?" and started asking, "Who am I when no one's watching?" At first, it was terrifying. She said no more often. She took up space in conversations. She let her silence speak when words were cheap. She didn't explain herself. And the world, for a moment, looked away. But then, it turned back. Men started leaning in. People paid attention not because she was trying, but because she was. Carl Jung once wrote of the anima, the feminine energy within every psyche. He described it as intuitive, emotional, layered, and deep. The anima is not about performance. It is about presence. It is not a mask. It is the mirror. And when a woman fully embodies her anima, something ancient is awakened in others, especially in men. They may not know why they are drawn to her, but they are. It's not a trick. It's a frequency, a vibration that can't be faked. Because you can't imitate authenticity. You can only return to it. This is not about becoming more desirable. It's about becoming more you. And in doing so, you unlock a magnetic force more powerful than any tactic or technique. She became the storm that watered the desert, not by pushing, not by planning, but by allowing herself to feel, to move, to breathe as she was meant to. Unapologetically, she wept in public. She danced in silence. She said things people didn't expect her to say. And instead of being punished for it, she became unforgettable. This is what happens when you stop shrinking. When you stop asking the world to make room for you and start taking up the room that was always yours. It's not about being loud. It's about being real. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who made you feel like you could finally exhale? Like their presence gave you permission to stop pretending? That is the forgotten feminine. She doesn't convince. She reveals. She doesn't manipulate. She trusts. She doesn't beg. She believes. And the men who once overlooked her, now they can't look away. Not because she became someone new, but because she stopped hiding the woman she already was. Can you feel it? That quiet part of you. The one that's been aching to breathe, to take up space again. The part that's tired of performing, of pleasing, of pretending. She's still there, beneath the layers, beneath the filters, waiting. And once she rises, everything changes. Not just how men see you, but how you see you. This is not about gaining power. It's about reclaiming the power you forgot you had. And as you begin to remember her, as you begin to let her speak, you'll see the world begin to shift around you. Because when a woman returns to herself, the world can't help but respond. Are you ready to meet her again? To step back into your own gravity? Then keep going. Because in the next breath, we uncover the deeper truth most men don't even realize. What they're really drawn to isn't what they think it is. And that truth? It's the key to everything. Men don't obsess over women who are nice. They obsess over women who make them feel. That may sound simple, but it touches something deep, something most people don't talk about. You've been told that if you're kind enough, sweet enough, understanding enough, a man will stay. But here's the truth that breaks that illusion wide open. A man's psyche isn't ignited by comfort, it's ignited by contrast. He doesn't fall for predictability. He falls for a woman who awakens something ancient in him, something that reminds him he's alive. That doesn't mean you need to be dramatic or chaotic. It means you need to stop filtering the most vivid parts of who you are. The warmth in your presence, the spark in your laugh, the mystery in your silence. Real feminine energy doesn't demand attention. It invites emotion. It's like fire and wind. Too much control and the flame dies. But when you let just enough chaos breathe through you, the fire dances. That's what he's drawn to. Not the good girl. Not the one who says all the right things at the right time. He's pulled to something he doesn't even fully understand because it speaks to a part of him that logic can't touch. There's a reason some women linger in a man's mind. He doesn't know why, but he keeps thinking about her. The way she smiled and then looked away. The way she listened, not to reply, but to feel him. The way her energy made him question himself in the best way. This isn't about playing games, it's about being deeply present. When you're fully in your body, fully in your truth, you move differently. You respond with instinct, not calculation. You don't try to impress, you express. And in doing so, you shift the dynamic from "what does he think of me?" to "how does he feel in my presence?" Carl Jung called this process individuation, becoming whole, returning to yourself, not a version of you shaped by external rules or social scripts. When you individuate, you stop trying to be what the world told you femininity should look like. You become the kind of woman who is impossible to replicate because no one else holds your exact frequency. And that's what activates obsession. Not beauty, not status, not strategy, but authenticity. You're not here to perform, you're here to remember. Because when you embrace all of who you are, the softness, the fire, the quiet knowing, you create emotional polarity. You become the grounding force he didn't know he was looking for. Not because you're flawless, but because you're real. He may not be able to explain it. He might even try to rationalize it. But you'll notice the shift, the longer silences, the extra glances, the way his energy stays around, even after he's gone. Because what he's actually drawn to is not what the world told him to want. It's what you've been hiding. And when you let that part of you breathe, it doesn't just change how men respond. It changes how you move through the world. Are you ready for that shift? Because once you stop chasing and start revealing, once you embody the woman who is whole on her own, everything begins to turn toward you. And in the next part of this journey, we'll talk about the very thing you've been told to hide. The part of you that may feel too much, too wild, too messy, too emotional. It's time to set her free. Because she's not your flaw. She's your key. You've been conditioned to be the good girl. Say the right things. Keep the peace. Don't be too loud, too proud, too sensitive, too sexual. Smile politely even when your heart aches. And for a while you did. You followed the script. You played the part. But the good girl is exhausted. She's burnt out. And somewhere along the way, she forgot who she is. Because when you cut away the edges of your truth just to be accepted, you start to disappear. Not all at once, but slowly, quietly. Until one day, you look in the mirror and realize you're barely there. This is where your shadow lives. Carl Jung described the shadow as every part of you you've disowned. Not because it was wrong, but because the world wasn't ready for it. Your anger, your hunger, your sexuality, your ambition, your case, your truth. It's not evil. It's not broken. It's wild. It's powerful. It's you, untouched and unfiltered. But you were told to lock her away. So you did. Now, imagine this. A lioness, caged for years. She forgets the strength in her body. She forgets the sound of her own roar. She paces. She performs. She waits for someone to set her free. But one day, something clicks. A memory stirs. Not in words, but in bone. She stops pacing. She stands tall. She opens her mouth. And the sound that comes out shakes the ground. That roar, that's your shadow coming alive. And the moment you remember her, truly remember, is the moment everything shifts. Because she's not here to destroy. She's here to restore. Not to tear down who you are, but to complete you. When you embrace her, when you stop judging the messy, passionate, angry, sensual, opinionated, honest version of you, you become whole again. And wholeness is magnetic. What if you allowed yourself to be messy? To not always have the answer? What if you let your tears fall in public? What if you spoke even when your voice trembled? What if you stopped apologizing for needing space, or rest, or pleasure, or truth? That's the version of you he can't stop thinking about. Not because you're polished, but because you're real. You see, the shadow is where your depth lives. It's where your edges are. And it's the edges that draw people in. You've tried being nice, being agreeable, being digestible, and it left you feeling unseen. So now, you're being called back to your whole self. Not the edited version, not the cropped photo or the well-worded text, but the version of you that breathes in color and walks with weight. This is your time. Not to become someone new, but to remember who you were before the world told you who to be. Before someone shamed you for being too emotional. Before someone said you were too much. Before you believed that silence was safer than truth. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And now, you know what that means. You don't become powerful by pretending the darkness doesn't exist. You become powerful when you face it, when you let it teach you, shape you, complete you. Because the truth is, you were never too much. You were just surrounded by people who couldn't hold your magnitude. And now you know better. You don't need to tame your fire. You just need to own it. So the next time you feel your shadow rise, the ache, the tears, the raw truth, don't run from it. Welcome it. Let it guide you back to yourself. Because when you stop rejecting your depth, you become impossible to ignore. And not just by him, by everyone. You're not here to be small. You're here to be seen, fully. So let the lioness out of the cage. Let her speak. Let her dance. Let her take her place in the center of your story. Because the world doesn't need another good girl. The world needs you unapologetic, unfiltered, and whole. And in the next chapter, we'll explore what happens when you stop trying altogether and simply become. The art of attraction, without effort. You don't attract by doing more. You attract by being more. More real, more alive, more you. And I know that's the opposite of what you've been told. You've been sold the idea that if you just tried harder, said the right thing, wore the right thing, played it cool but not too cold, stayed mysterious but not too distant, then someone would choose you. But true magnetism? It's not a performance. It's a presence. It's not about getting his attention. It's about returning to yourself. Modern psychology has a word for this: congruence. It's when who you are on the inside fully matches how you show up on the outside. No pretending, no adapting, just alignment. And the human nervous system, it recognizes that. It trusts that. It responds to that immediately. Because there's something deeply disorienting about a woman who seems perfect but feels empty. And there's something deeply captivating about a woman who may be imperfect but knows exactly who she is. Picture this. A woman walks into a room. She isn't the loudest. She doesn't wear the flashiest clothes. She doesn't even seem to be trying. But there's a presence around her. She carries herself like she knows something you don't. You don't know what it is, but you want to get closer. Her energy feels grounded, clear, unapologetic. There's no grasping, no chasing. That's the kind of energy men obsess over. Not because it plays a game, but because it's true. And here's the thing. You already have that in you. But you've been conditioned to cover it up with effort, with overthinking, with the exhausting habit of trying to be who they want. Let's pause for a second. Can you feel where in your life you're still performing? Still asking for permission to be exactly who you are? Still adjusting yourself to fit into rooms that don't even feel good to be in? You don't need to be more of anything. You need to be less of what you're not. Less apologizing. Less over-explaining. Less trying to make everyone comfortable while abandoning your own truth. When you stop doing that, something incredible happens. You soften. You settle. You start to move differently. You become a woman who knows she belongs because she belongs to herself first. That kind of woman doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses. And the moment you step into that truth, the world responds differently. Men respond differently. Not because you're louder, but because you're clearer. Your energy no longer says, "Am I enough?" It says, "I am already whole." That's the shift. And when it happens, it's not just your relationships that change. It's your confidence, your voice, your boundaries, your joy. Because you've stopped reaching out, and you've started reaching in. That's when everything begins to turn toward you. The right people, the right connections, the right love. And it's not magic, it's alignment. So if something inside you is waking up right now, if you feel that deep remembering stirring again, don't run from it. This is your time. And as we come to the final chapter of this journey, I want you to feel it in your bones. You were never meant to chase. You were meant to radiate. Let's talk about what happens when you fully own that. Let's close this circle. Together, you've walked through the fire of forgetting, and now you remember. You've remembered your feminine power, the kind that doesn't ask for permission, the kind that doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't shrink to be accepted, the kind that radiates quietly, boldly, undeniably. And now you see it clearly. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to rise. The woman who owns her energy doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses herself. And when she does, the world begins to move around her. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the moment you begin again, this time from truth, from depth, from wholeness. So if something inside you has stirred, don't silence it. Let it breathe. Let it guide you. And don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Let someone else remember too. And if you're ready for more, for real tools, real stories, and real support on this path, subscribe. Join us. You're not alone anymore. Because the moment you come home to yourself, everything changes.